with Stuart Brisgel and David Solomon every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. You think about it, we rant about it. Listen to us live on Facebook.
David, it was so much more fun when you were here. And in fact, that you are now gone, it is, I miss you.
Oh, I miss you
Did
too, buddy.
you,
It was great
did
seeing
you,
you. Too bad we couldn't
did you,
rant together live.
yeah, we get busy schedules. It's the middle of the week. And David, I hate to tell you, but there is war in Europe.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, that's war in Europe. And I want to bring up the map so everyone can see. Everyone sees Russia. Everyone sees Belarus, right? Belarus is part of Russia. You see over on the right, you have this country called Lanusk. This is all part of that new line that's like all over here, right? There's Lanesk, right? This is all now in Donetsk. This whole region has been acclaimed to be part of Russia. But when everyone looks at Putin on how this started in 2014 with Belarus and with Lanesk and Donetsk, people forget that the Ukraine is right next to Poland, Romania, Moldova, Hungary. Does everyone not see that he wants to reconstitute the former Soviet Union in Stalin's glory? I got to tell you, David, if I was a betting man, this gentleman by the name of Putin, he isn't going to stop, and he's going to starve his people. And you know what? Ammonia nitrate still hasn't made the news.
Well, Stuart, look, I got to tell you, and I know you keep flogging ammonia nitrate, and I'm wondering, you should maybe buy shares in it. But here's the thing, folks, is we're sitting on the cusp potentially of a war. And what's the difference between World War II and, let's just say, Vietnam and all the rest of that is that the United States has no desire, it doesn't want to commit troops. We've seen what happened in Afghanistan. We've seen what happened in Iraq. And most recently, we've seen how the Biden administration just can't handle conflict, military or other. And so here we are, and what we're talking about today is, the difference in styles between two leaders, between Putin and Biden. And you're right, Stuart. Putin has every desire. He wants to reestablish the old Soviet Union. It's funny. I had this whole conversation last night about that. Is the whole purpose is to keep the West away and to reestablish the Russians, or the Soviets, if you will, as a global superpower. Unfortunately, America as a world defender and superpower is dying. Okay, we're dying. And in the last 2 out of the last 3 presidents, we've seen this poor style of leadership. Okay, I mean, this is just ridiculous. When you look at, Stuart, when you look at what's going on right now, Obama did nothing when Putin grabbed the Crimea in the Ukraine.
Right, the red line, a very famous
his red line. He did the same thing with Syria. Did the same, and now it's the same thing. So let's talk about styles here, okay? Because we can't control the war. We don't know what the war is going to be like. But let's talk about styles, okay? And let me talk about the first one, and that is your president. Your president likes to talk with this, like he claims to talk softly, but he claims to carry and wield a strong stick. And even the folks in, on the liberal media are going, we're about to go to war, and you're talking. There's no Kennedy-esque move here. There is no. When you think about what happened in the the Cuban Missile Crisis, Kennedy stood up. Kennedy stood up and said, frankly, he played a massive game of chicken and won. And here, Biden, who follows in Obama's footsteps, is letting the bully go. Now, who said the word bully, by the way? Do you know who said the word bully? It was not Biden, and it wasn't Boris Johnson. But it was the little country of 17 million people known as Australia. Prime Minister Scott Morrison called it as it is. that he's a bully and a thug, and he needs to be stopped. And instead, Putin is playing Biden. So the difference is that Biden is a terrible poker player. Putin's a phenomenal poker player. Both are megalomaniacs. Both love power. Okay? Putin seized it. Biden is trying to manipulate the system to continue to seize the power, him and the Democrats. Okay? But Stuart, when you think of the styles, Putin's going to win. Why? Biden does not have the intestinal fortitude required to be a president in this global conflict.
You know, David, being a wartime president is never going to be an easy job. And when you're as old as you are, as this gentleman is, President Biden, when you have senility and a vice president that has absolutely no brains and is a failed vice president, you know, it's very, very advantageous for Putin to take, and let me put this map on, because if I was Putin, I would take, he's right now set up over Pinsk, Best, Nazar, Homel. He is literally surrounded from Belarus all the way around to the sea, right? And what people don't understand is, do you think he's going to stop at the Ukraine? You know,
oh, hell no.
He's not going to stop at the, and you know what? Should we as America allow him to take the part of the Ukraine? No, no, no.
But how do we stop it, Stuart? Come on, Stuart. How do you stop it? You know, Biden as a president, and I said it has no intestinal fortitude whatsoever.
Well, that's an invertebrate. That's an invertebrate. Let me tell you, Mr. Putin, I am going to do stuff if you go ahead.
Oh, no,
and you know what Putin says? He says, screw you, Biden. No, you're an invertebrate. You got nothing. I'm willing to starve my people, kill my people, genocide my people, and I will win. Stuart, and he's got the backing of the China.
Stuart, the problem is the way you said it was wrong. Because there's no inflection with Mr. Biden unless he's yelling at journalists. So there's nothing there. He's not standing up. You know, say what you want about Donald Trump. Hate him, love him. We know how divisive the man was, and people hate this and that. But, and you know, he spoke strongly. Wasn't polite, but he spoke strongly. And instead, interesting how a statement was there that by the liberal media, though, that Trump, like, why didn't Putin invade during Trump? Trump was a useless president. And I'm like, the opposite. Putin knew that Trump would have stood up to him. He knows Biden and Obama wouldn't. They're too weak leaders.
Well, and the word I use is invertebrate, right? They're spineless.
I
and
understand
you know what? Yeah, you know, it's not just the president of the United States. It's his entire political office. And I got to tell you, the only way you're going to stop Putin is you're going to war with Russia. And you know what? Unfortunately, there is no avoiding it because they've declared war. There's no small incursion into a country. There's an incursion in a country. There's no border that's been breached at this magnitude since 1930s.
Yeah, like, but Stuart, you're not. Stuart, the problem is you've got a president who is worried about getting reelected.
He's not being reelected. He's done. He's delusional.
He doesn't look. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I think that, you know, John, I give you, if you don't know what you're doing, neither does your enemy. It's actually kind of funny. You know, it's a funny statement that you bring up there. But the truth is that he doesn't know what he's doing. He's standing there surrounded by a bunch of people. You know, Ukraine said, don't send us military troops. Okay. So where are the sanctions that are going to cripple Putin? No.
Hold on. The only way to cripple Putin, before you get there, the only way to cripple Putin and the entire oligarch state is to put an end to the SWIFT system in and out of Russia, and for the entire bloc, right, close his accounts down and freeze them out.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
He's got no money. And if he's got no money, China will give them only so much before they will walk away.
Stuart, but the thing is, and this is part of the game that Biden is afraid to play. And truth of the matter is, countries like Australia, Canada, France can't do this on their own. The US has to take the lead, which sadly enough doesn't have it in them. But these ideas of, okay, you know what? We'll freeze some bank assets. We'll do about like a couple of Russian billionaires. We'll freeze their assets. There's some travel bans. You know what? That doesn't do anything. What does hurt is, you know what? When did Russia get hurt? When oil prices plummeted. Now with oil prices at $100 a barrel, he looks like a hero. Come on. Okay? You got to be realistic here. You will need to hit Putin where it hurts. And to sit there and to know that there are troops standing waiting to invade and you're doing nothing, you want to know something? The only thing, you love power, Mr. Biden, and so does Putin, but you both are not playing a game. Biden is being played. Putin is controlling. And you said about China is interesting because China, North Korea, Iran, this quartet of nutcases, all right, are threatening the West, and the West keeps saying, let's use diplomacy. We'll talk it through. You know who the last person to, excuse me, Stuart, do you know who the last person to say that was? Neville Chamberlain. When he sat there and he says, I have a paper here from Adolf Hitler. I'm using diplomacy. And look where we got to. They only understand one thing. Strength, not war, strength.
Sir Winston Churchill also almost got duped. But this is at a time when a generation of leaders knew how to lead. And there is a difference. We are in very, very big trouble. We're in, and you know what? The Biden administration almost needs to have this war if they want to remain at 35% favorability in the polls. Because to be honest with you, it's a zero-sum game. People aren't paying attention to the gas. Oh, it's because of Putin. Gas prices are crazy. Milk prices are crazy. People are going to forget. People's political memories are so small, they forget how we got there. Who caused inflation?
Stuart, it's not a political memory.
Who caused it?
Stuart, what? It's not political memory. It's all about history. The history behind it. And when I explained it yesterday, because I had my family asked me questions, this isn't a 5-year conversation, a 10-year conversation. You got to go back to Joseph Stalin and explain the Soviet Union and the superpower and this desire that Putin has to reestablish the.
I don't even think they teach this in school.
They don't teach it in school. They don't, because you know what? The media is ignoring it. Professors are ignoring it. People are ignoring. Politicians are not talking about it. It's, you know what? That's the dumbing down effect that you have.
You know what? I hope we can find the archive picture from the Cold War of the nuclear drills we used to do in school, where we used to jump under the desks. David, I don't know if you remember that. We did that in public school in Montreal. And
yeah, no, I got it. I'm old enough to remember the Cold War, and I'm old enough to remember the threat of the Soviet Union.
But these modern day politicians don't want to make you remember what the CCCP. I mean, that was the Soviet Union.
We know that people need to be woke, and we know that people want to say we need to talk, we need diplomacy, whatever. There's a massive cultural difference between the United States, the West, and this Russian leader, this dictator. Okay, Biden wants to play dictator. He wants to play dictator. He loves it. Okay, he loves the idea of being the local dictator, as does Trudeau, as does so many other leaders. Putin's a real dictator. He's a real dictator. And
I don't understand, David. I disagree. What is a real dictator versus not a real dictator? Listen, we can get in this debate. At the end of the day, a dictator is a dictator. There's no little dictator, big dictator. You're a dictator or you're not a dictator. And unfortunately, David, That brings our quarter hour to an end.
Yes.
So maybe we should talk about dictators some point.
Well, we'll see what happens for Friday because we'll see how the world changes yet again in the next 48 hours.
Maybe the map will change.
Maybe the map will change. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to wish you all a great and safe week. Hope you're all doing well. Please follow us on all the major channels. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Rumble. We're on Twitter. We're everywhere. We're on everywhere. By the way, Spotify. Shout out to Spotify. We get some great downloads out of there. We're getting great downloads out of our podcast. Share it with your friends, folks. We'll see you on Friday. Say goodbye, everyone. Just Stuart, say goodbye to our friends.
Goodbye to our friends.